If you're an author thinking of self-publishing your own book, one of the things that you're going to have to consider is the book cover. So it is one of the most exciting things and also one of the most scary things if you don't know how to design your own book cover or you have no idea how to find a designer for your cover. So what we're going to do today is talk about that. How do you create your book cover?
You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world.
Welcome to the Julie Amante channel. If we're just meeting, I am Julie Amante, and I am a women's fiction author who has both traditionally published and self-published. So today we're going to talk about how to create that book cover. So you've probably thought about that at some point, right? When you're finished with your book, what are the next steps? What are you going to do next? And one of the things that you do have to do is you have to find a cover designer, or you have to design your own book cover. So now those are your two options, right? So we either are going to design our own or we're going to hire someone to do it. And so doing it yourself is one option, but you do have to have some background in design. There are different things out there. For example, Canva, where you can go and you can design your own book. They have some samples, they have some templates that you can use. And they look pretty good, but unless you really know what you're doing, you want to hire someone, because if you're doing it yourself and you don't have any design experience, even though you can kind of cut and paste and put things into those templates that are already offered there for you, it's not going to look professional. It's going to look amateurish, and that's not what you want with a self-published book. You want it to look professional. Or if you do have some other type of design, you know how to use Photoshop, you know how to actually design something nice, then you have that option. And that's definitely what you want to take, right? So if you can do it yourself, it'll save you a little bit of money and you'll have the design that you want. However, if you are like me and you don't have any experience and you don't know how to use Photoshop, and you look at Canva and you're like, no, I just can't, I don't want to cut and paste a book that's already there. I actually want my book to look good. I actually want my book to look like a professional has created it. Then what you do is you go and you hire a designer. So what can you expect though from hiring someone? Just because you hire someone doesn't mean that your job is done. You don't just go find someone and say, okay, create a book cover for me, because they need to have some guidance from you. They will ask you for, first they'll ask you, what is your book about? What is the genre? What is the tone or the feel that you want for the book? So you'll have to provide some type of information so they kind of have an idea of where they're looking. Are they going to create a suspenseful looking cover, or are they going to a romantic looking cover, right? Or a nonfiction book? What is the tone? What is the feel that you want to express with your cover? The other thing is that they will probably ask you for samples. So you will want to look for other books that are similar. Obviously, it's not going to be identical to the one that you want to create, but are there book covers that you've looked at and you're like, okay, that is sort of what I want my book cover to look like. That's the background that I kind of like. I want people. I don't want people. I want animated looking people. What do you want it to look like? So you want to give your cover designer some samples and say, okay, something like this, right? I like this one, I like this one, I like this one, maybe a combination of the three, so that they have, again, a starting place on what it is that you want. Okay, so once you get all of these things and you give all this information and all these samples to your designer, the next step is that the designer is going to, start creating something based on the information that you've given the person. So they're going to create a mock-up, right? They're going to say, okay, well, here is what I came up with, and they're going to give you a sample of it. And then that might be exactly what you wanted, or it might be something that you're not quite sure. You might say, okay, well, no, this isn't, I don't like this background after all. I want to change the focus on these people. I want to, whatever it is that you don't like, the the title is too big, my name is too big, something, right? So this is something that you want to, it's a creative process, right? You want to find somebody that's willing to work with you back and forth. Now they're not going to endlessly create for you and keep changing it, because then the price will go up, right? So they might, some of them will say, okay, we have 3 tries here, or we have whatever, right? And so you want to, that's why you want to, the first part, want to make it as clear as possible what it is that you want it to look like, so that the first iteration of this cover is similar, it's very close to what you want. It's not always. I know I've had, my upcoming book that will be coming out. I did have to change a few things. Like at first, it looked way too romancy. The people were just not right, so I had to change the people. So even though I thought they would work, once I saw it on the cover, it just didn't look good. Something else I noticed is actually my name was too big, and I wanted the title actually to be a little bigger. I wanted it to be clearer. So, sometimes there's little minor things, and sometimes there are bigger things. But again, it's a creative process. So they're an artist, right? So just like you don't get your book right the first time, they probably won't either. And that's okay, as long as the person is willing to work with you so that you get the cover that you like. And once you agree on, what it's going to look like, then of course the designer will give you the images and various types of, some that will work for Kindle, for Amazon, some that will work for different types. And you need to know, something else that you need to know is you need to know how large your book is going to be, so how many pages it's going to be, especially if you're thinking of a print book as well. If it's just digital, it's not a big deal because you just have really your front cover. But if it's going to be a print book, then you want to make sure that you have your back cover copy. You want to know what, you want to write that. What is it going to say? And how it, what is going to go on the back of your cover to describe your book. And then you want to know how many pages it's going to be, because they're going to create the spine of the book, and they need to know how many pages that is in order to be able to create the spine, which is another reason, since I do print books, I like to have a cover designer rather than trying to do it myself and trying to figure it out. I just tell the designer how many pages it is, and she creates the perfect spine for me as well. So I have my print images, and I also have my my digital images, and I also have my print images, which is the larger cover that's going to go around the entire book. So the book cover is super important. Okay, we want to make sure that you have the you want to have the cover right, because that's the first thing that the reader is going to see. They're going to make a purchasing decision based on your cover, which again is very frightening, because you have spent a long time writing your book. And if the cover isn't right, then it's, it could possibly fail just because of the cover. So, what should the cover say? The cover really should tell the reader what your story is about. It should tell them, I am going to terrify you with this story, right? The image on the cover, if it's going to be a horror or scary novel, it should tell the reader that they're going to have that experience of being scared. If it's a women's fiction novel, it's probably going to be something gentler, right? Definitely gentler than horror. It might be it might be a scenery, or it might be a if it's about friends, you might have friends walking on the beach. So you want the cover to set the tone and to give them an impression of what the story is going to be about. Maybe location, where is it going to take place? Maybe, again, the feeling, the tone. Is it going to be a super romantic novel? Are you going to have like a very sexy cover model on the front cover? So the cover really needs to set the tone. It really needs to tell the reader what your story is going to be about. And when you're thinking of the tone and the mood really that you're setting with this cover, it's another thing that you want to ask yourself: am I capable of creating this myself, or do I really need to have somebody else create this for me? Because again, it's not just cutting and pasting and finding a cover and adding things to it. You want it really to represent the tone, the mood, and the feel of your book. Okay, and once the process is over, whether you chose to do it yourself or chose to get a designer, you should let it go. Be happy with the cover that you have. And then let it go and see how it does. One of the nice things, the beauty of self-publishing, is that you are not stuck with that cover forever. If you find that for some reason the cover isn't doing its job, it's not really attracting readers, and sometimes you don't really know that until you put the cover out there, until you put your book out there, and then people react to it in a good way or a bad way, right? So are they not even picking up your book because of the cover? Is it not attracting the right reader? Maybe you decided to do it yourself. You find that it's really not working. You can re-release the book with a new cover. You can definitely say, okay, well, it didn't work doing it myself, and then I'm going to hire a designer this time, and hopefully it will be a better book. It will be a better cover. Now, I don't recommend doing this all the time. Like, you don't want to just put out books with different covers all the time. However, if it does end up being really bad. I mean, there's no point stressing about it once it's done, and once you've made a decision, is put it out and see how it does. But just do know that you can go back and change this in the future if you want to. If you look at covers sometimes of famous books, you'll see that different publishers have bought the rights to the book at different times. They change the cover, they re-release the same book. So you are definitely able to do that. And then also, there is no perfect cover. The cover is, hopefully it's good. And hopefully it really does represent your book well. But there are no perfect covers. I'm sure, again, you've seen books from best-selling authors, and you go out there and you're like, this is not a very nice cover. This book did super well. Why did it do well? It wasn't because of the cover. Maybe it was because of the author, right? It was the name on the cover that sold the book, but the cover really wasn't all that amazing. So sometimes covers just aren't great. But if your book is good and you do a good job of promoting your book, and you do a good job of selling your book and putting yourself out there, sometimes the cover isn't everything. It does make the first impression. It is important, but don't completely stress out about it. If it's terrible, then you definitely can redo it in the future. So I hope that this gives you a little bit to think about as far as covers and what to do. I'm also going to add a link in the description to an article by Kindlepreneur, because if you do want to do it yourself, he has a really good article on the steps to take and possible software and things that you can use to create your own cover if you feel that you are, you have that talent to design your own. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for being here. Come back next week for another tip on writing and publishing your own story. See you then. Bye-bye.